Start your week with a triple shot of good vibes. This is the Project Joy podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. Thanks for joining me. And now it's time for this week's story of joy. So my family and I love to watch different movies. There's a couple pre-story or pre-thoughts I need to share with you first. The first is that we love to watch movies together. We've gotten in the habit of having some movie nights. We'll get a bunch of snacks and all pile up in my bedroom. And we have one of the things that we love is we have a projector. So we have two projectors actually instead of TVs because it's like you're watching at a theater. It's except, you don't have annoying strangers standing up in front of you. You've got the kids standing up in front of you. But anyway, we've had such a good time having movie nights together. And so this last week we watched the new Dora the Explorer that was made. And it's funny because as a parent, you have these shows that the kids watch that are completely cringeworthy sometimes. And so we were all kind of afraid. My teenagers were like, oh God, please no, don't make us watch this. But, it reminded me to give things a chance because and when you do that you can experience joy, unexpected joy. This movie was so funny. And there were definitely, it had those cringeworthy moments, but in the best way. And we all loved it. The little ones loved it. My teenagers thought it was funny. My husband and I got a really good laugh out of it. And for anybody that knows my husband, that he can be kind of ridiculous when we go out in public. And so as we were going out yesterday to the store and whatnot, he was singing like the Backpack song throughout the store and all of that. So it was a great movie, but it reminded me, as I said, to, just because you experience something at one time and maybe it didn't bring you joy then, maybe it was completely cringeworthy, maybe it was not fun at all, to try it again, because it may be something that's a new experience. You just don't know what to expect. We're going to be back in just a minute with more of the Project Joy podcast. What's up, everyone? Jessica Dugas here, creator, producer, and host of this Project Joy podcast and the hit social media talk show, The Breakthrough Show. It's crazy to think about the fact that we are almost to the end of season 4 of The Breakthrough Show, but it's true. Right now, we are in the midst of planning for season 5, which will be kicking off on February 5th, 2021. This means that I have the pleasure to announce that we are now casting for season 5. If you are someone with a story of breakthrough to share, or are an entertainer of some kind, we want you. Just head over to thebreakthroughshow.com and click casting to book your episode planning call with me, or see the link in the show notes. We can't wait to share your story of breakthrough with the world. And now back to the podcast. Welcome back to the Project Joy podcast with your host, Jessica Dugas. I'm so excited to be here with you on this lovely Monday morning, or whenever you're watching or listening on the replay. Today is Monday, September 21st, 2020. This is episode 36, and we are talking about joy in beginnings today. So last week we talked about joy in change and some of the anxiety and sometimes downright fear that we can experience when we're going through changes in our lives. But we do know that change is inevitable. Change is one of those things that we're going to experience no matter what, right? If anything is a constant in our lives, it's change, or guaranteed in life, it's change. And so, on the heels of change, there is, I think, one of the things that people fear or have anxiety about are beginnings, the new beginnings that happen in our lives. And so I thought it was super fitting that that's what we're talking about today is beginnings. And I have always been one that has thrived on new beginnings. The idea of it anyway. I love a Monday, and here I am on a Monday morning. I love a Monday. I love a new year. I love a birthday. Because I always like the idea of having a fresh start. And that's what beginnings signify to me. Sure, they can come with their own fear or anxiety because we don't know what to expect when we're starting something. But the idea of beginnings is so beautiful to me. It's like a birth, at the start of something. There's an excitement there of not knowing what's coming. And I think that where we can really find our joy at when we're talking about beginnings is when we are at the helm of that beginning. As we talked about last week on when we talked about joy and change, it can be difficult to find the joy in change when it's an unexpected change that feels like it's outside of us. So when we can orchestrate those changes, when we can be in charge of or feel like we're at the helm of those changes in our lives, we can definitely experience more joy because we feel like we're the ones that are doing it. It's the same thing with joy and beginnings, where if we are orchestrating that beginning, if we are saying, if we are taking this new thing that's happening from day one and saying, we are the boss of this, we are in charge, then we can create the joy around it. And isn't that the theme of so many of the episodes that we've had together this year, is the idea that sometimes joy just doesn't just happen. We need to create it. We need to find it. We need to look for it. So if we're at the start of something and going, I don't like this because I don't know what to expect, or whatever other reason we put on it, we can say to ourselves, okay, but I'm in charge here, and I'm the one. Or we even just choosing to say, I'm going to find joy in the unknown, in the not knowing what's coming, what to expect, and I'm just going to roll with it, and choosing to find joy at the beginning of things. So the definition itself of joy, you guys know that I'm a homeschooling mom, and I love dictionary and thesaurus.com alike. And so when I looked at the definition of beginning, it's kind of like a stale definition. So it talks about an act or circumstance of entering upon an action or state, the point of time or space at which anything begins, of course. The first part, that's another dumb moment. Often beginnings, the initial stage or part of anything. So you read that and you're kind of like, okay, great, fine, not really exciting. But when I went to thesaurus.com and I typed in beginning, this is where I go for a lot of inspiration. You guys want a tip or trick that maybe I've never given on any of the shows before, outside of being a homeschool mom? The thesaurus, looking at different words, different meanings of things, is a way that you can, if you're not experiencing real joy in something, sometimes it's the wording. Sometimes we're conditioned, and we have conscious and subconscious beliefs about different words, and it can be helpful to look at other words that may go, oh yes, that's what I feel, because words have a resonance. Words have an energy of their own. So if you're not experiencing joy in something, go stick it in the little box at thesaurus.com and read all the words and see if there's anything that makes you feel amazing and feel excited. So when I typed in beginning, these are the words that come up on thesaurus.com: birth, creation, dawn, inauguration, inception, introduction, onset, opening, outset, starting point, top, alpha, basis, blast off. That's a great one, right? Commencement, dawning, genesis, induction, infancy, initiation, installation, kickoff, opener, origin, origination, preface, prelude, presentation, rise, root, rudiment, source, spring, takeoff, threshold, day one, point of departure, and square one. And as I read those, there's certain ones there that really made me feel the joy of beginnings. And some of them tying into that idea that, if we take control of ourselves, like we've talked about several times on this show and on the Breakthrough Show, a lot of times, we can't control the people and things outside of us, but we can absolutely control ourselves. And that includes choosing joy in any given moment. And when I think about, some of these words of it being like dawning, for instance, like that's such a dreamy word, and we can say, yes, something amazing is coming. And some of these Genesis, kick off, some of these words really make me feel that joy of saying, yes, beginnings of things may make me nervous. They may be a little bit fearful at times to think about what's to come, but I'm going to choose to find the joy in this very moment. It's going to be amazing, and find the word. If the word beginning makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to find the word for beginning that does make me experience joy or feel joy. We'll be back in a minute for more of the Project Joy podcast. What's up, everyone? It's Jessica here, your host of the Project Joy podcast and, of course, the Breakthrough Show. I want to take a moment and thank all of our supporters here at the show. With your financial support, we are able to expand the show and reach more people with the hopes of inspiring our audience members to change their lives for the better and know they are supported during times of breakthrough. We welcome our one-time contributions to our show by sending a PayPal to business@thebreakthroughshow.com, or you can join us at patreon.com/thebreakthroughshow, where you'll be rewarded for your regular contribution with things like our exclusive community, Soul Connection Collective, merchandise discounts, fun shout-outs on the show, and more. On behalf of everyone here at the Breakthrough Show and its network, we thank you for your generous support. And now back to the podcast. Welcome back to the Project Joy podcast with your host, Jessica Dugas. Coming up next week on the Project Joy podcast, we've got another installment of our Joy and Stories series. Now, if you are used to tuning in live on our Facebook page, whenever I pop on live in the morning, if anybody that doesn't know, Project Joy podcast is live every Monday morning on the Breakthrough Show's Facebook page at facebook.com/breakthrough show. And then it turns into, through the magic of electronics, it turns into the podcast that it is. And so I'm usually live on Monday mornings. Next week, I'm not going to be live because, as I've alluded to the last several weeks, we've got major changes coming up in our family, and I am going to be disconnected that Monday. But it's going to still appear on the page. It's just going to be pre-recorded. And of course, you'll get the podcast episode the same time. So be looking out for that. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching today. I appreciate you so very much. Please take a moment to rate, subscribe, comment, and share where available, and make every day a great day to experience joy. We'll see you next time. You've been listening to the Project Joy podcast with your host, Jessica Dugas. We'll see you again next Monday and every Monday for another episode to start your week off right.